States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's start with the roll call of the members.
Mickey Ketting,
Here.
Ron Brun,
Here.
Frank Myers, Frank,
Here.
George Weiner,
Here.
Ed Luttrell,
Here.
Jamie Bowman,
Here.
Frank Roth,
Here.
Alderwoman Shauna Zerwig.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum, all right. Is there a motion on the agenda for tonight?
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda.
All right, we have motions, or second?
Second.
Before you approve it, item number 4, 310 Washington Street has been withdrawn. The resident has moved, no longer lives there.
All right, so with that one change, is there a motion to approve the agenda? Frank Myers approves.
Yes.
Nikki, did you second or Jan?
Jan.
Jan
Jan did.
seconded.
Yeah.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Move on to the minutes for the December 17th, 2012, the February 25th, 2013, and March 12th, 2013 minutes. Any discussion or changes in the minutes?
I have a change. On the item 2, on the second page,
Which
it's the December 17th, is that, yeah, December
considering them all
17th.
three.
Yeah. In the diagram, it says that we had 5 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 absent, but we have all 5.
Which one is this?
On-
Oh, I see.
Yeah. 1 opposed. Well, there wouldn't have been 1 opposed because it would give us 7 members. That's 7 anyway. Anyway, I don't know who opposed that.
That's on the next page. Page 3, Frank Myers. Am I looking at the right one? 1217B? Or 645, is that the one you're looking at?
On page 2, this item,
Oh.
item number 2.
Okay.
And
Oh,
in
I
the
see.
right, it says,
Yeah, okay. You're right. I don't think.
and I don't remember who, but you know, don't have that in the record and change that.
Mhm.
That was the one thing I found.
Any other changes, or is there a motion?
I move to approve as amended.
Okay, motion to approve as amended. Is there a second?
I second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Move on to new business. Planning for the National Historic Preservation Month, 2013. Yes.
We have February 25th and March the 12th minutes to approve.
No, we did that all.
We did all in one motion,
All in one thing, okay.
unless you want to change your motion.
No,
Okay, all right. So, Brandon, do you have
that was the only thing.
some information on the,
Just a second, it's back
Sure.
up. Who approved and?
we have a motion from Mickey.
Seconded by Jamie.
Jamie, seconded.
Okay, thank you. Oh, well, everybody knows that Historic Preservation Month is next month. Doesn't give much time to plan for anything, and I have requested from the Herald and from St. Genevieve News 798 if they would reprint some articles by Scott Sidler. He's with the Craftsman blog, and he has given us permission to do that. And I thought maybe a month-long series of his editorials or blogs might be something that.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
And I also considered doing an architectural, kind of a scavenger hunt to put in the Herald where people can, well, also on Sun-Times News, where people can see these architectural elements that could be found in St. Genevieve and go around the town and find where they're
Oh, that would be interesting, yeah.
at. I've already got pictures because I've been doing it for the past 2 years.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, yeah.
So that would be in
I think
both
that's-
the Herald and the Sun-Times.
Great job.
Great, yeah.
Is there anything else anybody would can come up with on short notice that we could put together?
It always seems that we think of this too late to really do anything grand. Is there something that we could do as a prize for the winner of the scavenger hunt? Or is that, would it just be
I use those for fun.
for fun?
Do a certificate with our logo.
Yeah, we could do that, yeah.
Do that. Yes,
How about a St. Genevieve flag?
There you go.
There you
it's a
go.
good idea. I take it we have those to give away?
Well, we have
I have a little banner of the flag, a little plastic banner, and I have a quantity of those. About this big, but it's the coat of arms, you know, the city, so if you want to use those also.
Okay, let's move on to our first action item. First action item is number 13-0415A, a request to approve the rehabilitation plan for 9 North Main Street, also known as the Hotel St. Genevieve, circa 1903. We have, I guess, Bob Mueller. Can you speak on that?
From here or there.
Whichever you prefer, you may, yeah, table's probably better.
Let me just introduce a couple of other people from our redevelopment. Herb Follard is the vice president, and Greg Ferguson is our secretary. Jim Ferguson is our treasurer, and I'm the president of Audubon Redevelopment LLC. We also have Steve Bacon, who's our architect, and Dick Reminger, who's our window guy.
So I guess just tell us about the project.
Well, we're asking for you to approve 7 things tonight. One is all external to the building. One is removal of the shutters from the building, replacement of upstairs windows with 1/1 style, replacement of the downstairs windows and entrances with traditional, what I call the mercantile style window, which is appropriate to the time period. The addition of pillars around the main entrance on the east side, a second-story addition on the west or back side of the building over part of the kitchen area, the addition of a stair-type fire escape on the back west side, and then signage that we anticipate for the building. As Frank said, this building's 110 years old, and I think this should have been in your packet. This is a picture that was published in 1908 in what was known as the Southeast Missouri Drummers magazine. We have a second picture, date unknown, when the streets were still gravel here, but it again shows the pillars in the front of the building and some of the signage that was on there. I guess this is a third picture from 1908, kind of looking up North Main towards Jan's house. What we're trying to do is to take this building back to a style similar to when it was built in 1903. It was originally known as the Petrican Building for a few years, and then the Sexar family bought it, and it was known as the Sexar Building for many, many years. It first started out as the Palace Bar and the Gem Cafe, and then became the City Hotel. I take that back. It was called the Commerce Hotel, or Commercial Hotel for just a short period, and then it became the City Hotel until 1946, and then it became the Hotel Audubon. It suffered a disastrous fire in 1956 and was reconstructed. Well, not in total, but they fixed the fire damage. And then in 1961, they had even a bigger fire that pretty much gutted a lot of the building. And that's when the present configuration of the building, the windows and things of that, was done. If you look at the way it currently is, there are 6/9 windows upstairs in Fall, Williamsburg. Downstairs, I'm not sure what those kind of windows were. They're aluminum multi-pane. And what we're proposing on the windows is to go back to a 1/1 upstairs, as was when it was originally built. They will be double hung. Dick has a sample here. They're essentially the same as the windows that went into the Inn St. Jim Beauvais after that fire, without the cross hatching in it. They'll just be 1/1s. The mercantile style windows downstairs has a wooden base, then a big plate glass, and then either a single or multi-pane, just 3 sections or lights above that. And there's several buildings in town that are of that time period. If you look at Sanborn, the Sarah's Antique Shop, Zielinski's, Monia's Antiques, and I think Odil's Linen and Lace are all of that same time period. So we're kind of modeling out after that style of window. And you can see we included drawings in the package that show that we have quite an expanse of glass, and I think it's going to look very good and fit in very well with the other mercantile style windows that are in the downtown area. As far as the doors are concerned, we're also going to go to the old traditional, more mercantile style doors, single pane of glass. And naturally, they'll have panic bars on them and things of that sort. But the side lights, the side lights now are multi-pane side lights, and we'll be going to single pane side lights, kind of like the mercantile style windows with a small transom style window on top. We're going to take down the pillars, the cast iron pillars that are there, decorative. That's not really the style that was of the time period. Though I think if you look at the drawings that we provided, we are going to put the pillars back around the front entrance on the east side. And there was data included in the package as to how those will be designed, the different pieces of wood that go into that. We would have, the original 1908 picture did not show a sign on that little porch above it. We are going to put the porch back. But in this later picture, you can see that it says City Hotel, where we have, in the drawing that we gave you, where it says Audubon. On the back side of the building, I think also included in your package is a layout of how we sit on the property. We're very close to Bill Nager's building. There's a little space in between. And on the back side, since we're planning to do a banquet center upstairs, we had to provide another means of egress. So we're going to put in a stair type fire escape on that north side or west side. There is one existing on the north side, and then there's stairs inside, but we'll have multiple means of egress. Also on the back side, you'll see in both the north view and the west view of the addition of a second-story structure on top. We'll use that for a prep area for the banquet center, and we'll have it look like the rest of the building.
Extension completely come out and cover? I'm assuming that's the kitchen downstairs?
Yeah,
Will that
that's
come
the
out?
kitchen. It's going to cover that. Yeah, and if you look at the west view and the north view, you can see where that's filled in on the sketch.
Yeah, I just couldn't see how big it was.
That's a hard shot to get with a camera because
Yeah.
you'd have to stand in the church or something to get a good
Yeah.
view.
So it's going to infill the entire footprint of the kitchen?
There's a portion of the kitchen which will not be covered with a second story as it is now. That was added after 1929 and yeah, and that will still remain as is. We are going to we're not going to fill the windows in with brick. We're going to fill them in with wood for security reasons, because people could come up our emergency egress and get up there. So we're not going to, they could always be taken back to windows if we wanted to.
You won't see any of this unless you drive back.
Right.
Drive and go
Yeah,
around.
it's not a pretty view from back there anyway.
Yeah, it's not a street.
Yeah. The signage that we're talking about is above the front door, having the word Audubon's on the little porch that will be similar to what was on that other photo. And then the other signage will be Audubon's of St. Genevieve, and it'll be painted on the windows. And that's also historically correct. In the 1908 photo, if you could, it's kind of hard, but when you blow it up, right here, it says Palace Bar on the window. And we'll do the similar kind of thing, probably, we may add Banquet Center down on the left, the west side door on the south view.
So these aren't hanging signs or anything?
No hanging, no lighted, it'll just be,
It'll be in that font, it's not gonna be...
yeah, very similar to that, yes.
So you're asking us to approve this too,
Yes,
as it is here, or are you gonna come with a better drawing?
well, the only thing that would change on it would be the font, if that. Entertain any questions you might have.
What are you gonna do to the exterior?
The exterior's gonna remain white. We'll fix any holes, things of that sort, that are, when we take the shutters down, things of that sort. We'll test for that before we do anything with that.
The windows
That was
painted?
painted 7 or 8 years.
Well, yeah,
The windows be painted,
yes,
or what color will the windows?
it'll be white.
White too.
Now, if you look above the windows, there's some little, I'm not sure what the architectural term is, Steve, maybe you can help me.
It's called a brick detail.
A brick detail, those may be painted a different color to offset them and make it a little more distinctive. And there's also a brick molding that you see running right above the pillars. Well, it's kind of on the building itself.
Yeah.
That may be painted a different color too, to offset or to provide some eye-pleasing differences there.
The window style is changing, but are you putting the new windows into the old openings
Yes,
without?
yes, sir.
Not enlarging?
We're not changing those. All of them will be the original size.
You're not doing sashes, you're replacing the whole window out?
They're gonna take the whole window out and put a new window in. Some of those sashes are not very good.
Right. Just not doing a sash replacement, you're gonna
No.
replace.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion or any more discussion?
You want to do it in separate things or all in one?
You can do it in all in one unless you want to do it in separate.
On the call for all-in-one, and if there's dissent, then we'll
Yeah.
bring them up.
Just do it all in one.
Okay. Then I move that we accept the application for the renovation or rehabilitation of 9 North Main Street, including the 7 items listed.
Okay?
Second.
Is there a second from Ron? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So
Well,
we're all
thank you very
excited about the
much.
project.
Yeah, can't wait.
We hope to complete it later this year and be a nice cornerstone for the downtown area.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're all very excited about it.
Now, do we need to put in the minutes why we said? So you want to go around the table and ask each commissioner, or how do you want to do that? I noticed I was missed the last meeting, and one of the commissioners stated why he said no, and the other ones didn't state why they said yes. Well, that should, in my opinion, should have nullified their vote, because you're required to, when making a vote, to say what factual evidence you used. And they were passed, but I don't agree with that at all. If you're gonna make a vote, not abstain, you're gonna make a vote, you should state why. Am I wrong, or?
I'm a little confused on if you say yes, why you would have to show a reason for that. I don't understand.
The same
You
reason
you have
have
to
to say.
state, or you should state which guidelines that they are in line with. So, to put in the record, so if there is any dispute or something should go to court, you have a specific finding of fact to fall back on.
Can you just say the findings of fact you have in your report was the reason I voted
That's
yes?
exactly what I was.
But I think
That-
something needs to
that
be
would-
said.
Based
So
on
should we
staff
just, so
report.
anyone who doesn't agree with that, voice their difference to save us all time from going around the room? Everyone will say the same thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I think something has to be written that week. You know, like Brenda does, she gives a yay or a nay here.
Right.
And then she explains why. It just stops a lot of,
Well, I think the evidence from the pictures of what's included in their package shows what it looked like at approximately the time of its construction. And it seems that we are just putting it back to that.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that you're clear on one thing. This window right here, on the south view is currently a door, a recessed doorway. We're going to take that back to a window as it originally was. So I just wanted to be clear on
I
that.
noticed that.
Yeah.
What are,
And, will you have any additional meetings requested from us?
Only if we have changes.
If you have changes, there will be other meetings.
That's correct.
You're off and running. Get your papers.
Thanks a lot, Bob.
I think if we just state that we find the criteria to match the St. Gen design guidelines, just make that statement, because, you know,
Well, you need to be more specific in that, or if you just want to
I
refer
agree.
to the findings of fact in the staff report, you could do that.
Let me just say, we all, based on the findings of the staff report, move for approval.
Right.
Or in the opposite, if you find that my findings weren't consistent with what evidence
Guidelines.
was
Yeah.
presented.
That's fine. So is there anyone who did not find as their positive thing what's in the staff report? And we'll just say that was the,
You could put in, you know, in chapter 3 and chapter 2 and chapter 7 is in the design
Oh, you could do that.
guidelines. Yeah, and I think, you know, we do our homework a little bit, and that's what chapters this falls in. I looked it up and agreed with Brenda what she wrote.
okay. Let's move on to the next item, which is action item 13-0415B. Request to construct an accessory building in the rear yard of 349 Washington Street, circa 1870.
I'd like to make a comment I think this needs to be tabled. We just got the drawing here, but we don't have a site plan, which everybody does. They draw the property lines, how close. This is a 40 by 60 building. This is bigger than my home. So
We have a site plan. I had one courier down from St. Louis this
Well, I don't
afternoon.
have it with us to review it. I mean, we don't have it now, and it's not our thing to review it now, so I think if we table it and have more time to go over it. It looks like a pole barn to me too, not, you know, which isn't described. I presume these are poles. I just think we need more information, and we can make everybody else go by the guidelines.
Warren, is that the site plan there?
I did my very best to bring as much information with me as I could. I have a color aerial photograph of the neighborhood. And I also couriered down from St. Louis today. Every lot with all the dimensions for the whole subdivision, with the proposed building located on the lot. In addition to that, I have brought a picture of the siding. You feel free to pass that around. And the roof color of the proposed building. And I do agree that Eddie's statement of it does look like a pole barn. Yes, what was contained in your packet does. And
Is it a pole barn or is it not?
I'm not quite sure what
Does
you,
it have a foundation, a concrete foundation, or does it have?
well, if you have any understanding of construction, you'll see that it's a pole barn.
That's right, so I asked you, is it a pole barn or not?
Yes.
It doesn't state it here. I don't think we ought to review it, we haven't had time. But if the committee decides to, we will, but it's definitely a pole barn, it's 40 by 60, and
It's going to be pretty visible from the
What?
building.
from...
Is it essential that we know what the use of the building is going to be?
Of what the
It
use is going to be?
it concerns me to the extent that, depending on what that use is, there has to be an entranceway to it. Perhaps there has to be parking areas associated with it,
It's a big building,
and it's in a residential area.
that's right.
And I think we, while it's a R2, I believe,
Yes.
which allows some commercial use, doesn't it?
R2?
Yeah,
No,
no?
not without a special use permit.
No.
Well, what is the proposed use then?
Private use. It's my private residence, private garage. And if you'll take a look at that site plan of the complete subdivision, you'll see that I will not only be able to access the garage from Washington Street, but I will also be able to access it from Third Street because I lease or own all of the property on that side, and I also own the property to the north of it.
How would you have access to
I lease a portion of ground from the city. I lease or own 6 parcels of ground on this block.
My concern is the impact on the rest of the neighborhood there. There are some potentially very attractive structures in that area. They're not all living up to their expectations, but they could be.
Yes,
And my concern is that we don't put something there that detracts from the residential neighborhood.
yes, and Brenda asked me to bring it to the commission's attention tonight that I'm working with her in the city to do an addition on the west side of my existing home, which will not only quote-unquote hide that structure, but also show that it will bring more balance to the property. In between my addition and this proposed garage is also an existing barn.
I apologize, I don't know which house you live in.
349 Washington,
349, okay.
yes,
So why wouldn't
One
have
with
the
the picket
great-
fence.
This is where the trailer is.
the white one with the red roof and picket fence,
With the trellis as you go in, there's,
Is that two-story?
story and a half.
there's a trailer, then an open lot, and then his property.
Oh,
Now, this open lot is where this building would go, right?
Deep.
Yeah.
Now,
It's
Yeah,
several hundred
the-
feet from the road.
okay, this is on the land that is part of 365 Washington?
Yes,
And-
I'm under contract to purchase the property.
Okay, that's what I was, because when I was reading this, I thought, do you own it, or, but you don't yet, but it's just paperwork?
Just waiting to take my money.
Okay. And there is a small structure back there.
Yes, Action One, our community group uses that building. I don't know if you call it for public use or not. We store architectural artifacts that we are trying to preserve and spread when in need.
Okay, yeah. It looks like,
In fact, today I just got word that there's a contract on a house here in town. It's going to be able to accept a lot of sashes that we saved from a demolition. So
yeah.
we're slowly cycling back through the community, repurposing and reusing.
Because I thought maybe that would partially hide that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Plus, I spent the morning digging up some tall pampas grass that I'm going to put in front of the building, and also some pine trees. So I don't have any intention of it sticking out like a
It's a
sore
residential
thumb.
area, it's a historic district,
Yes,
and the structure that is there now
Second motion.
will be more attractive and appropriate in a historic district than your new one. So
we got
I
that.
think it would be advantageous as if the old structure remained,
oh, I definitely am keeping the old structure.
because I'd hate to see
Yeah.
within the next year a demolition permit coming through because of
I have
building
absolutely
can
no
longer
intention.
be, I know, we get them all the time.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, what we're going to do on the inside of this structure is apply some 90-pound roof felt to help protect and weatherize it. So I love that building. There was a woman there last fall, an artist, painting that building. So I actually went and asked that homeowner for permission before we even entered into a contract for me to purchase the property, if I could just fix it up. And he said, help yourself, so
What's the size of the garage again?
40 by 60.
It's a big structure, really.
It's not big when you start filling it full of antique cars and stuff.
Filling it with what?
antique cars and stuff.
The last time we approved an antique car situation was with our good friend across the table here, and we've had nothing but problems with that.
Perhaps with a large enough garage, he can hide his antique cars inside of it.
This is a pretty important area,
Yeah.
and I don't think we got the information soon enough to make a good choice. You know, if I could see where he set it on the lot, I'm not even, you know, it's none of our business, but I don't know if you can build a pole barn in
Did you
city
not get
limits.
that? Part of it, was that not in your packet?
That one was, but that's not the scale. That's not the
That's
scale.
square.
It's not even close to scale.
And the
We make
building is
everybody else
40 by
bring us
80.
detailed drawings, like the hotel took the time to do. And I'm not saying it's wrong, this is excellent now, but I'd like to be able to look at the size of the building where it sets and have time to make a good judgment instead of just get it tonight. It's not by scale. I'm not even sure you can build a pole barn in city limits.
This drawing sitting in front of you is 1/8" scale, that is to scale.
I just got it tonight, 10 minutes ago. That's not how this works. It's not fair to you, it's not fair to us. When you filled out the application back on the date, it states what you should have brought, like the hotel did. You didn't do it, so I wouldn't have accepted it because you didn't have it in this booklet. You know, we're volunteer, and we got it Saturday. I drove by and I looked at this, and I couldn't see no scale. So to be fair to everybody else that come before you and after you, I just think it needs to be tabled for tonight, and I make a motion that it is, so we can have time to review this a little bit better. It is a big building. It's in a very important area in town, and I'd
Well,
like
it
more
wasn't-
time to review
It
it.
wasn't important enough to be included in the TIF, which I asked for.
Well, I don't,
TIF is commercial.
TIF's not our, no, it can be.
Let me ask you, I know the area extremely well because I live on Washington Street, so I know exactly where he's talking about. I can totally visualize it in every regard from all directions. Is anyone here struggling with this? Because I mean, to me, it's easy to figure
I
out, but
didn't think it was that hard to.
And I-
is there anyone else
Well,
struggling
I
with this?
polled all my neighbors and asked anybody who was opposed to please come and share their disinterest. And
But you just said that you own all the properties. so
I did not
what
say
else
own
could
all
your
the
neighbors
properties.
So
say?
he owns, you can
He's
see
got-
on the
he's
plat, it
got-
says what is owned, and it shows his name on those he owns and not his name on the ones he
That's what
does not.
that's-
It's on the
Well,
plat.
It is
didn't
hard
see.
for me to visualize. The plan looks like it would go with everything, you know, that you have. But,
I mean, just for those who aren't out of Washington, and not that I am the world's foremost expert,
yeah,
but as
it's
far as
just,
visibility of the building, when you're on Fourth Street, this is behind the White House you're restoring, correct?
Correct.
So it's not visible because it sinks off, so you might see the roof.
Correct.
And even then, only in the house, then the White House, correct?
And I chose a 5/12 pitch roof, and I think if you've driven by my house, you've seen this big white cupola that was rescued off the Rost and Perina building out of Gray Summit, Missouri, when that was raised. That's a 5/12 pitch, so I didn't want to alter that architectural artifact, so that's going to go on the center, and then I have a couple antique weather vanes. And the guy who drew this for me said, well, I don't know how to draw a weather vane, so I said, I'm sure these people will understand what a weather vane looks like.
Well, the 512 pitch doesn't match the houses in the area that we've demanded from other people in their construction to match the pitch of the roofs. You know, I'm just saying, I would like more time to review this.
There's a
And Warren
5/12
doesn't own the
pitch.
property now, so I don't see the rush to approve it right now. I'd look to, I'm sure there's a trailer there. I don't know what pitch it is, but it's pretty low.
There's a 5/12 pitch roof that directly adjoins the
I would
property
just
to
like
the west.
more time to review it, and I'm making a motion.
Okay, and I'm saying, is there anyone else who needs more time?
There's a motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second? All right, and let me add, before we vote on that, Warren, is there a reason, do we need to do it tonight as opposed to the next meeting? Is there a urgency on materials or anything, in other words? Okay, all right, so we have a motion, we have a second from Frank Myers,
Yes.
right? So all in favor of moving it to the next meeting? Say aye.
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 So we have three ayes, all opposed. Moving to the next meeting.
I'm okay with it today.
I'm okay with it today, too.
I'm okay with it today.
Jan, George?
It's a toss-up, I don't care, either way. That's not a vote.
Let me throw it back to then let me throw it back to the applicant, because obviously, rather than having this contentious split vote, if we were at the next meeting, then they would have a chance to look at it. Would that be fine with you, or?
Well, I guess I'd like to make a motion for Eddie Luttrell to not have a vote on my projects because we've done business in the
You're not
past.
part of this vote.
And I'm concerned that it may positively or negatively affect the outcome of
No.
your votes.
My
I'm willing
main-
to answer any questions he has.
I make
So,
my
yeah,
motion on the fact that we have rules we have to abide by. We're supposed to get the information before the night. That's not my decision, okay? I'm trying to be fair. So if you say you're fine with it, you really don't have the right to say that because the landmarks is set up with rules that say we're supposed to have them in a certain amount of time. You might agree that you're gonna, this is okay, and if I had time to look at it, I'm sure it's fine too. As of now, the only thing I have is we didn't get it in time. I spent time today to run around, look at all these houses, to look at the property, and our guidelines say that we need time to review it. So if you don't want time to review it, in my eyes, you're not going by our guidelines.
Okay, let me ask Brenda, based on our guidelines, is this the way, does this fit the rules or not? As
Does
the
it fit
official
the rules?
scorekeeper of rules, I mean,
I would say that those who do not feel comfortable with information should not make a
Well,
judgment on it.
I think we should probably roll it to the next meeting simply because you'll get a better vote from everyone if they've seen it.
I think if we had gotten the entire
Which one?
packet
The one that this
at the
one
last
is gonna
minute,
go on.
that
It's under
absolutely we
contract.
should
We're just waiting
push it
for
off.
closing.
But we've got, the majority of the packet and written information that,
It's
this
leased.
was a nice extra little
With the
piece,
purchase.
Are you happy with the pitch of the
So we
roof
set a purchase date.
compared to the home? Do you
Yeah.
know the pitch of the roof he lives in now?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it matches a 512?
I think it's gonna be very close.
Or it would be possible to have you stake the four corners of it for those who are not familiar with it, just so they can see.
Well, if I just,
Where it's at
if
there.
I have time to look at his
Absolutely,
plot,
and,
I could do it. I don't-
I understand this is nothing like the St. John Hotel renovation, and I don't have.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I mean, it's not,
It's a-
economically, it's obviously not the same price point either,
It's
so.
It's a 40 by 60 building, it's bigger than my home.
It's
Seen
a,
something like that.
it's a accessory structure that's subordinate.
Yeah, I understand
And
that.
it's, to my primary residence.
Yeah, I'm saying, just for those who can't visualize it, because they're not in Washington, if you just maybe put all four stakes in, put a little flag on them or something, that way everyone can go out and look at it.
If you do that, would you mind if we walked on your property to go back and look at
No.
it?
Just don't trip and fall and hurt yourself.
Okay.
I just
think-
don't understand where it is, quite honest. And
There's an aerial.
the color
this-
picture shows pretty well, but like if I could go there and like see from the street and look at the stakes and, you know what I mean? I just don't feel I don't, I just,
Yeah,
I sat there
you
and
almost
looked
have
at
to
it
drive
and couldn't
clear
figure
around
it out.
it. One of the better views is from the ball diamond sitting over there.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
can resolve this if you just stake the corners, and then those who are unfamiliar can happily go by anytime they want and look at those corners
And
and
if we have to
get
have
a
a special
handle.
meeting, we could have it, I can come back.
Yeah, I mean, if there's an
Emergency
urgency, we could
meeting,
we could do it, we
yeah.
could do a special meeting for you as well.
How tall would you like the stakes?
I can visualize what a story is.
3 feet out, something like that, 3, 4 feet,
Whatever.
something like
If
that.
you- if you gave us a copy of it, I wouldn't need stakes, I can visually see where it sets,
It'd be easier for
Well, I
everyone to
think
just have stakes.
Stakes would have helped me.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell you what, how about I build a building and then you come out?
That would work, that
Have
would
a
work
barn
too.
dance.
There we go. All right, so then we have a motion, we have a second.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Well, do you have the construction documents ready by then?
Absolutely.
Okay. And they can look at that also if they have any questions
Sure.
about.
And we even asked for material list, which I don't think we need it for this, but it is something
Well,
that's
he has
on
the-
the.
It was,
Yeah, he has the,
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second.
Just decided.
Table it long enough for Warren to go out and stake it, so everyone can go and comfortably see it, walk around and view it. If you need a special meeting, we're more than happy to do that. whatever works for you, just so we can get everyone on board on where it's at.
Sure,
That sound good?
absolutely.
Okay, so we have motion second. All in favor of that plan, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, so we'll just put the stakes in, and then we'll revisit based on your
Fabulous.
schedule, okay?
Thank you.
All righty. Next up is item number 13-0415C, request to erect a wooden picket fence approximately 42 inches high along the front property line and to erect a 6-foot-high wooden privacy fence on a portion of the east property line of 345 Washington Street circa 1900. In addition to the fencing, the applicant is requesting permission to cover the existing siding with new vinyl siding. And Warren, you're up to that again.
Vinyl is a very rude word. Brenda Schloss sits on our neighborhoods, watches committee on the board in charge of our historic renovations. And what I did was go to St. Louis and find the most premier vinyl polymer siding that is offered. It comes in, excuse me, we're talking about picket fences, right?
Let's start with the fencing.
This is an example of the picket. It's the same picket in front of my house. We have a local window manufacturer here in town that has agreed to recreate some additional pickets. So our subdivision group is trying to keep some uniformity in our fencing.
And that goes in front of the house and back along,
It goes in front of the home.
Just in
just
front.
in front. It's a good-looking fence.
It is, yeah.
Come paint it with me sometime.
Isn't there something, if you read Huck Finn, you'll figure out how to get the fence painted?
It didn't work.
Okay, so it's just wooden pickets along the house next door to your house with the same continuity, correct? Just like the same fence. And it's also the same as the fence that's going in across the way as well, correct?
Similar.
Similar,
Similar.
okay, all right.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept the fencing project.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the white picket fencing project. Is there a second?
I second.
We have a
Based
second?
on,
I'm sorry, based on?
Okay. Let me see.
Conformity to the guidelines.
Conformity to the guidelines.
Okay. So a motion based on conformity to the guidelines. We have a second?
I second it.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries on the picket fencing project. Move on to the next fencing, which is the 6-foot fencing, correct?
Correct.
All right. Any questions or discussions on that?
It's going to go on the back line at 345.
It's going on the, what I would call the sideline, not the rear line.
So,
Behind
Eastern
the
property line.
front building line, approximately 60 feet past a carport to a metal storage building.
Which effectively blocks the view from your property to the one to the,
It effectively blocks my next door neighbor's view from a rental house.
right.
That's,
6 foot?
yes.
I think we just recently approved a 6-foot fence for a.
I think we did.
that was an 8-foot fence.
Yeah, it
foot's no
was
big
bigger
deal.
than that.
Actually, that was an
Yeah.
8-foot fence, I
That
should
was,
say.
that was an 8.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was-
so I,
But that
That
was all,
was-
but the 8-foot was further off the road,
right.
Yeah,
this
6 foot
one's-
standard.
standard, yeah.
And it's can be removed as easy as it can be put up. I don't see.
Is there a motion then on the 6-foot fencing or any more discussion on that?
It's not going all the way to the road, is it?
No, ma'am.
The
Just a-
6-foot fence goes between those 245 and 249 to block the view from 245 so they don't see what's in 249.
but not starting out at the street, starting
Absolutely.
back to where the, equal to the house.
No, that's not. The property line's to the right of
Yeah,
that
the picket fence goes in the front.
row of bushes. It's
Yeah, I can play the role.
There was a property line adjustment.
Okay, is
I
there,
move to
several
approve
years
that.
ago.
okay, we have a motion to approve
Moved
based
it in the
on,
rear
Based on
15 feet, all the way up to
Consistency
zero in
with
front.
the rest of the community and the guidelines.
okay,
I second that motion.
second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So that motion carries. Now we move on to the third part, which is the polymer vinyl siding.
Correct.
Okay,
Sorry for jumping the gun there.
that's okay?
I noticed you mentioned that there was maybe, nobody looked at if there's clapboard board under it, or nobody looked to see that, what's under the asbestos siding now, is there something under it, or was that?
I don't even believe the siding's been tested to determine whether it's asbestos or not.
Okay, whatever siding is on there now,
10-inch lap transite.
is that what's on, okay, whatever's under the existing siding now, what would you say is there something under it, or is it nailed onto the studs, or?
I would imagine it's nailed to some sheeting, plywood sheeting, and then
Okay,
studs.
so there's no clapboard board you're thinking under. I noticed that it wasn't tested and you're unfor sure what it is.
That, it concerns me that we really do this one right, because it's a very good, attractive house.
It is.
It is, it's a real
It's-
jewel.
Yeah.
And the important thing is it has some of the old trim that makes
Absolutely.
that era house.
Which we are fully intending on preserving, and
Well,
that's why,
that is a big problem when anybody says vinyl, I kind of hunch down, because usually it ends up covering every bit of detail
absolutely
in the
not.
house.
This is the wall surfaces only, none of the soffit. We're actually putting back the wagon wheel style fretwork that fits at the top. We removed that last fall and took it to a local wood carver. His college-aged daughter has spent most of the summer cleaning and recoating that house. So every piece of detail around the windows, porch is remaining. This is simply the surface that there's some green shingles and it's been
I
filled in
wonder
with
how
white
much of the
shingles.
detail was lost when they put the asbestos on, though.
I'm not sure that we should be even calling this asbestos. It's just a 10-inch lap transite siding.
Oh, that one, yeah, 349 is the asbestos, yeah.
The
This
one,
has
the one
vinyl,
to
yeah.
the east, I believe, is asbestos, and that can most easily be determined because it has that lazy S on the bottom. And if it does contain asbestos, typically it's not more than 2%. Typically, when you see a straight lap siding of that 10-inch, that's from like the 50s.
Well, the asbestos salesmen in the 50s were doing what the vinyl salesmen are doing today.
Absolutely.
Messing up a
And then
lot
there
of
was,
the
there
historic
was some
houses.
aluminum salesmen in between
Yeah.
time, too.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Meyer, I think what Frank's getting at is that the thickness of the vinyl will diminish the depth of relief of the trim.
That's why we elected to go with a 4-inch siding. And it's 0.46 of an inch thick, so it's,
Oh, wow,
it's great stuff.
that solves that.
It still laps out, right?
Pardon me?
What type, is it lap siding?
I have-
Ship lap, or do you
It's
have?
lap and it'll be 3/4 of an inch.
Right, so it'll protrude 3/4 inch out, you're gonna put any backing behind it, insulating backing?
It looks just like this.
Yeah, see, this is the
Just a
depth we're
different
gonna
color.
lose, right here, 3/4. And,
Yeah.
and that trim is
Only
only probably,
inch and a half.
so you will lose the look.
The trim around the windows right now is plain white wrapped metal. So we intend on putting a green chamfered panel shutter on both sides to accentuate it, to make the windows pop, essentially.
Have you removed any of this old siding? You're going to put new siding on?
Correct.
One way or the
Uh-huh.
other. Have you removed any of the old to see what the condition is of what probably is wood siding?
It's sheeting, flat wood sheeting. It's like
You
Diagonal
removed enough
shed.
to know that it's
I didn't
diagonal.
remove any, I peeked in from underneath. I went in the basement, looked in underneath.
That's very unusual, because with a house with as much detail in trim, when that trim, I don't think went on when the vinyl went on.
I think when when it was
And,
re-sided, the old siding was removed,
Yeah, it has to
is
be.
what it appears to me.
It has to be.
Because it's so deep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my concern now, that we don't get so deep that we lose the trim.
I drove by it, the siding doesn't look that bad, but I didn't walk around it, but it looks good for,
Well, before we sign it, we're going to cover it with a weather-resistant barrier that's going to support the breathability, water-resistant, and vapor transmission. It's going to provide protection from the elements and increase the energy efficiency of the home. And it's the best defense against mold, mildew, and water damage to date. And also the advantage of this siding that we're using, which is kind of the Cadillac, it comes in 25-foot lengths. So along the front of the house, you won't see those typical quote-unquote vinyl seams. And then along the west side, where there's the longest portion of the building, we'll lap it, so when you're looking from the road, you won't even see the seam. You'd have to go stand between my garage and Narvella's house to see it. So we've done our research and done our homework on this. It comes with a Class 1A fire rating. The rough cedar finish is molded from real cedar boards. It's called a true texture, rough cedar finish.
well, it was a house in Leahy that asked for just about the same thing, but it was asbestos, but it was a siding of about the same thickness that was turned down and denied. Do you recall that? I don't want to mention any names here, but it was denied. It was fiercely opposed, and it was still denied.
That had the original clapboard underneath.
Right, but it was still denied to take it off. What I read in here in the application, it says they are unsure of what is under it.
Whenever I looked at it, the windows seem now like they stick out further
Yeah.
than most do. But
Yeah.
I think that's because there's nothing behind it.
And I kind of believe you too.
So I feel like if we put this vinyl on there, it would be more true to the way the
You may be
detail
right.
was before. Because now it's set back an inch.
We're going to,
I mean, and I understand that we're going to the vinyl, but another thing is,
This is a polymer, it's a vinyl polymer. It's not like this vinyl you would go get at a local low-end building supply house. This is,
but I feel like it's gonna go back to the way, more like the way it was, because I think it looks like it sticks out too far. I mean, I just parked there and looked at it,
again, it's,
because I feel weird getting out, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But it sticks out really far, so I feel like if that vinyl was on there, it'd look more true to what it was.
I think Jamie's right. If you take the clapboards off, then that reveal becomes that much stronger than it really was intended to be. This might bring it back. That's not a defensive material, but
it's, when you
it
start.
answers,
But-
I think that possibly addresses the question you brought up about the relief.
It does, but there are better materials to
That's a
use
different,
for it.
Yeah.
that's two different arguments, though.
It's the J channel, I think.
That's the problem.
It's the J channel that in my eyes, it's the J channel that ruins vinyl. If you're talking about looking in the center of this wall that's vinyl, yeah, I love it. But it's when you get to this aggregate window work and you start adding J channels to it, then you just put that vinyl look to a very, very nice home. And now the windows, they have the, I don't know, there's a name for it, but the vinyl siding slips behind it and it's no J channel, and the doors have it now. But this is an old home, and when you go to tack that J channel, it sticks out, and you don't get that feel of the clapboard board going in and out. You have a straight line. I don't know if there's a way, we could see if he could get away from that.
Jamie, did you not bring us some samples of that? Where the J channel was,
Yeah,
It was molded in the windows and the doors,
See
but
that?
this one, you won't have that
Can't do that,
opportunity
yeah.
here.
I did. I found some stuff like that, yeah. It was, assuming. No.
yeah.
I'm a distributor of vinyl windows that has that channel on the
Yeah,
outside.
excellent.
But since there are only 2 windows on the front of the house, and we're putting shutters, that's going to cover the J channel.
But there-
Seriously? You bring the edge of the shutter up against the,
Up against the frame of the window.
you know,
Oh,
rabbit
yeah.
that out a little bit, so.
I guess it
Well,
would.
that solves that.
Yeah, because then it wouldn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, then it's, you're covering the hardware, which is the
Exactly.
objection, the main objection.
Are
The
the
other-
shutters going to be vinyl, or they're going to be
Yes.
Polymer.
polymer?
Chamfered panel.
Does it have shutters now?
No.
No.
It's a beautiful home.
Yeah.
Well, she's in love with my porch, and I'm in love with her porch, and so we'd love to trade porches.
I'll tell you though, seeing this siding, whatever it is, which is on a house in my block, and they painted over it, and it was gorgeous when it was finished. It looked totally refreshed and renewed, and they did nothing more than paint it. And,
Transite?
oh, you're gonna see, I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
this material
But
currently
you
is.
still have the
Yeah.
J channel around the doors, you know, the windows, I agree,
Yeah.
you could hide it, but you're gonna really lose a lot of depth then. Because plus you have I just don't, you know, I agree. And there's ways that you could butt up against the wood and then take another piece of cedar and make your own, instead of using the J channel, cover that look and still give it depth. We've done that in some of the homes we did, but I just don't like, it's such a beautiful home, I mean,
Well, when I built my last home, I used vinyl, and on the corners, I used true wood, and that covered the J.
right, and they make a vinyl block now that is set in, and it's wood grain, and 10 feet from it, you can't tell that it's, and I brought pieces of that in for our new stuff, it's better than that box.
This, I promise, is not gonna look like the vinyl on the house caddy corner. It's not gonna look like the vinyl on the house on the corner of Third and Washington. It's not gonna look like the vinyl on my house.
I think we're all gun shy when the word vinyl comes up.
You know, we have a right to, you
Well, it's really a vinyl polymer, it's not vinyl.
know, vinyl is a polymer, I think. Any
It's
vinyl is a
vinyl.
polymer, yeah.
Well, that's just not a true statement.
What brand is it?
Certainty, finest
I've
on the
built-
market.
yeah,
It's
I've built-
monogram 46.
Yeah, but it's still considered vinyl.
It's kind of like when PVC pipe came out and the plumbers started using that, PEX, you know, it's a change. One of the reasons she's covering this home is a part of our neighborhood watch. There are major retailers who offer money in forms of grants to seniors, veterans, and handicapped people. And she falls under one of these categories. So we're going to be able to help her stop the moisture infiltration problem she's having inside of her home.
Is there a motion, or?
Well, the only other thing that I do want to bring up is part of what we're trying to do when we got some new members on here was we're trying to allow people to improve their homes and moisture infiltration or whatever. I mean, no matter what it is, we're trying to allow people to improve their homes. And when I drove in front of it, I mean, that one window that sticks out the very front and then that very intricate detailed window, I mean, there is a picture and it sticks out like way further than normal windows. But I don't know where it is right now.
On the gable?
It's just page 2 of the application.
Yeah.
Staff report.
On page 2 of 14, You can see how far it sticks out, and that's what led me to believe that the original clapboard is not back there. I don't know, and
Well, that'd be an easy review, you know,
I do feel like this is a sticky one, because I mean,
right?
if we look at the guidelines, it basically says no.
No.
Deny
Just
it.
no.
Right. It's-
But we want people to improve their
I mean, I
practice.
think we gotta be sensible here, guys, because
I think this is this house this isn't a house sitting up on Maxwell Hill or a house sitting on Leahy off to the corner that's been rental property all these years. This house is in immaculate condition. I don't think it follows to save a home, we have to vinyl side it. I don't think this house is in that class. What I love vinyl for is to save a home and make it economical for someone to live in, or it's gonna rot to the ground. I
Well,
don't think this
Yeah,
house
but no.
enters that case.
this house isn't perfect. I walk by this house all the time. There are pieces missing.
Oh, it's old.
It isn't perfect, and it has moisture coming in, so it's certainly not, we can't call this a perfect house.
No, I'm
It
not
doesn't
saying
need
that,
any
no
work,
means.
right? That's
I think
why
what would
they're
make
here.
everyone happy is to take the transite off and put wooden clapboards on it.
Or that concrete board, there
Yeah,
was one done across from the
yeah.
bank that's immaculate. If you looked out the edges and that, I
That's true.
think there's an alternative material. I don't know the price difference with the concrete, they don't get they can keep the depth, and it is an excellent looking home. We open the door to getting,
Well, it's just a better material, really.
right, and get away from the J channel, you keep your depth, and it's just an alternative.
Right.
Plus, you
material.
can cut it around this fenestration here, too.
Oh, yeah, it's, I'd like to see,
I mean, again, just from a sensibility standpoint, if you put this over it, at a later date, when prices rise to the point that it economically makes sense to build the Lily, you could pull it all off, right, guys? I mean, this isn't a permanent change at all. You're just time delaying. If you want to take it back to another material, you can. But I don't think the numbers in St. John on real estate right now will support doing I mean, I don't know the price differential, but Warren, you may. I mean, I don't know what the,
This is a 70-year-old woman who's still working in the kitchen.
I know her, she's that's what's so hard. I mean,
And this is a neighborhood project. This isn't contractor, it's just minimal material purchase price and, the labor's donated.
I still think it
It's the
won't.
best looking house on the street.
It is, it's a good looking home. I don't think we need to vinyl side it with J channel. We need to get together and go down there and caulk some things up and let's do it. But
okay, guys, when we keep calling again, just because people watching the show are going to have the same questions. When you all keep saying J channel, if I'm walking down Washington, not going up to her porch, which she probably doesn't want me on her porch, but looking from a distance of here to the wall back there, what does J channel mean to me? So what am I going to see that I'm going to say, oh my gosh, it's J channel and run screaming down the street? I don't see what is
Well,
that?
If you put on J channel and you compared it with other products, you would see it. So I presume you haven't seen it.
No, I don't even know what J channel means when you all say
Right.
J. I don't know what that
It
means.
just takes away the depth, it takes away the look. You see how this wall meets this board here, how clean cut it is? A J channel hides that rough edge of the vinyl, so it protrudes out further than the vinyl siding to cover that edge. So in the expansion and contraction of the vinyl, you don't see that gap slipping.
And how much you talking to?
It's kind of
Quarter
like a
inch?
frame around that whiteboard.
Yeah, it looks, and it's,
have you ever seen those houses that look outlined? It's like an outline.
right, it's,
It's like an outline of the window frame. And it holds the vinyl inside of it.
right, it just remodel, and then the concrete board, you get away from that, it's a straight flush fit, and it'd be nice, there is no clapper board, because he'll still keep his depth,
Then are we suggesting that he look into getting concrete siding?
That
Are
just
we-
isn't gonna even come close to hitting the price point. I've just wasted all of your time.
Well, it's,
No.
no,
Well, the other thing that I'm thinking of is if people come to visit historic St. John, are they concerned with this house on Washington Street? I mean, are they just thinking, oh, I look at that pretty detail on this porch and the wheel up at the, because the wheel's right here, isn't it?
Yes.
And, I mean, when they're going to look at the inns, the Bolduc House. I mean, it is in that area, but it's not one of them that we're like,
Oh, but boy, you'd be surprised when you see
Yes.
tourists walking up and down
Jared
side
Fat, they
streets
walk up
and
and down that.
walking all over the place. When they come to St. Genevieve, it's not just the down, if they're spending a weekend, then they meander
yeah,
around.
when they spend the weekend, I get that.
Yeah.
I retired 4 years ago, and I've yet to see, quote-unquote, more than 2 groups of tourists coming down my street. And we have one of the finest sidewalks on the south side of our street. Lots of local people, neighbors, same group walking the dogs, same girls from the school.
Oh, see, I feel
Walking
walking
at
up and
noon.
down my
Oh,
street.
yeah.
We don't
A
get
lot.
that traffic, and I'm not sure if it's because we got a brown trailer on one corner and a yellow trailer on the other corner and a green trailer next door to me, and they
That was
just keep
tragic.
walking, turn and go down and look at the blacksmith shop and head down for some more nicer, gooder looking buildings, but we just don't get that, we don't get that tourist traffic, and
Yeah.
it's not that we're not trying to improve our street. We've been here before to get approval for a fence across the street and plant trees and shrubs, and we're doing everything we can, and I understand Rome isn't built in a day.
Right.
We're just
And
doing
I-
our best.
I think that, according to our guidelines, there's nothing to support us allowing vinyl. I don't feel, of us to give him permission to put vinyl on. There's nothing in the guidelines that does that unless we do it as an economic hardship, and, but I'm not comfortable making that motion. But other people might.
Because the only thing I see here is, in other words, if it was as simple as going by the guideline, we don't need to exist. She can simply say it's a guideline. We're here for the
Right.
gray area, which this is a gray area.
But
That's
this
why
is
we're
a gray
here. It's
area.
called sensibility. It's not,
I think alternative
Black and white.
materials need to be reviewed, It's, once we open the gates, and especially a house
I,
like this, I think we're opening the gates, and it's not what we're here for. We're here, for compassion and that too. That's why we have the hardship thing, and if she is 70 and that, maybe he can come back with the hardship paperwork, and yeah, we have an opening here, but the next person that applies for vinyl is gonna listen to this meeting, and we have no factual to give him reason to do it, so we've opened the,
are we speaking of this polymer vinyl, or are we speaking of J-channel, which is the issue? Because the only 2 windows on the front, the big windows, they're gonna have shutters covering that J-channel.
it'll be around the doors, it'll be around the porches, wherever the siding meets an angle will be something to hide that, and that's what.
And as I just explained earlier, the corner boards are gonna cover that. When we put the new corner
Yeah,
boards, the
right.
J will be covered,
Right.
so you won't see it.
But where it meets, where the roof comes down and meets that board there, there'll be J-channel there. I mean, any 90-degree angle where that edge of that cut vinyl's gotta hide, it's a J-channel.
It'll be covered
He's got
by a
corner
corner board. The corner board would lap wider.
Then what's the corner board made?
I've never seen J-channel used on an exterior corner in the 26 years I've been building homes.
Right. I'm not talking about that type of corner, but, okay.
Which kind of corner are you talking about? There's inside corners and
So where
outside
your-
corners. I don't know what
So
other
where
kind
your
of corners
J-corner
there
runs up
are.
to the eave, where your vinyl siding hits this eave, okay?
Mhm.
What are you gonna use there to cover it?
F-stop.
Well, that to me is a channel, right? So it might not be the name of J channel, it might be, it's just that channel, that line, that says vinyl and concrete. Concrete cement, you don't have that in a concrete board. You don't have that edge that outlines and gives it the vinyl look that we've got to stay away from. Our guidelines say
Okay.
stay away from.
This is one of those situations that could go on all evening.
It could.
I personally am opposed to vinyl siding on a National Register type property. And our guidelines specifically prohibit it.
Mhm.
But I think rather than, there seems to be quite a bit of favor of ignoring the guidelines. And I think we ought to take it to a vote.
Is there a motion then?
That's, you need the motion.
I'll make a motion to explore the avenue of a different material other than vinyl.
Which brings up the
Which
possibility
brings-
of the hardship
Right,
application.
the hardship, and so I oppose vinyl, and I make a motion that we look for a different material.
You would first need to vote on his application, approve or deny, and then make a recommendation, a second recommendation.
Okay.
I guess I'm confused. Why is there vinyl siding on my house was built in 1891?
Yeah, we can't go back and what the other board's done.
It was probably done before there was a landmarks commission.
And the Landmarks Commission has been in existence.
Before the guidelines were accepted.
Before the guidelines were accepted in, was that
2007?
80?
Well, the guidelines were accepted in 2007.
And, but I think that the commission goes back like to the late 70s or early
Yes.
80s, yeah.
But the siding that's on
June
my home was
2001,
installed.
the guidelines.
2001?
Yeah.
That's not when they were accepted
By the- by
as.
That's when they
design.
were presented, yeah.
How long has it been on your house?
I've owned my house 4 years, and I still have the realtor's information. It only been on the house maybe 2 years. In fact, the gentleman that that did the job, he's doing the front porch for me on 260 North 4th Street. And I actually ribbed him about a warranty because some of the soffit was falling down. I asked him how long his warranty lasted.
There are some modern houses in the community, conventional houses, that are, you have used vinyl, and they're very attractive, good-looking houses. I'm not saying that it's not appropriate at any point. What I'm saying is this is a landmarks commission which is historic preservation, involved with historic preservation. And if you buy or inherit or whatever a historic property, you're supposed to go by the guidelines. And we are supposed to go by the guidelines.
Sure.
And
I like rules, and rules are to be followed.
Right.
And I would implore this commission to work in conjunction to
Can't-
have an ordinance passed so the realtors in town, when they sell homes in the historic district, they disclose what the potential buyers are faced with.
We agree.
We've
I certainly
tried.
agree with
So
that.
Yeah,
I'm
we-
gonna make a motion that his application's denied, and so that's the motion I make, Brenda.
It has to be in the positive.
It has to be what?
In the
The motion has to
positive.
be in the positive.
You have to express the negative as positive.
So
be
not to
accepted.
confuse people as to what they're
Not to
voting.
be accepted. Thank you.
Okay, is there a
No,
second?
No, no.
You
That
would,
wasn't right either.
you would make a motion to approve, and then those who would say yes, yes, and
Oh,
those who say no,
oh.
will say no, and then if you don't want it,
Well, I
it's
don't want to
denied.
make a motion to approve it, because that would act like I
Can-
agree with it.
Can I suggest that perhaps, since you're coming back next month with yours, that you explore some other materials that could be used? We certainly don't want to.
We have
You have,
explored
that's,
clapboard.
You could bring the information to us, you know.
I did. I brought the best finding and the best solution
Well, the application
with
I read.
26 years of history of building, and I have never, ever once failed an inspection any building inspection in my
Well,
life.
don't start picking.
I have a reputation for
Don't start picking up
overbuilding.
years, 'cause I've
I have
been
a
doing
go
it
big or
50
go home
years.
You're not gonna,
reputation.
you're not gonna beat Mr. Meyer here in the Times man, but
Well, and the financial considerations of cost difference is not our purview anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's right.
that's nothing that we.
Well, when it comes
Unless
to a
it's a
hardship,
hardship.
it is.
But
Yeah.
that's not our hearing
Yeah.
either.
Okay, good, good. But he has to bring the documents of a hardship to us. It states it in.
So if he could show the difference between the vinyl siding and the cement board or whatever and prove that for the hardship?
It's a lot harder to
You can go over that with Brenda, but he,
There's an application for hardship.
yeah, there's an application, and it states it at the bottom. With your application, you will please include supporting documents if declaring a hardship that you will bring to us, including price quotes for home materials, including estimates. Wow, I didn't know it said that.
Yeah,
Oh, it gets into a lot more deep depth than that. It gets into your
State.
taxable properties, your
Right.
assets. I mean, that's a big
But I
deal.
think this warrants this, because this house is a nice,
Well,
shaped trailers were allowed
when
around
you
it.
speak of your home, Eddie, you described to me that they saved your particular style home because it was one type, and they saved the two-story, da-da-da-da-da.
Right,
When you started replacing vinyl windows in your home on the south side,
right.
did you come to the commission?
I went through the state, and since there was aluminum windows there, the alternative to replace the aluminum windows. My house is judged on the growth, the history of the history. So every year, things changed in my home. The Secretary of Interior for tax credits, let that be part of the history of the house.
Got
And
it.
yes, I came to Landmarks, and you can go through the minutes and see, or stop by the house.
Well, I'm not suggesting that you did.
I'll pull out my stuff, but if this house, you know,
I mean, it seems you're so anti-vinyl, I'm watching you.
no,
use it.
I'm not anti-vinyl at all, don't get me wrong there.
Okay.
But there's places for it, there's places not, and I don't think this house is to the point that it needs vinyl to save it. You know, there's a lot of people that are moving out of these houses because they just can't afford to put this concrete board in that. Well, then we have vacant houses. I don't think this house is in that realm. I love vinyl windows, if there's a place for them. I don't think this area is a place for vinyl windows or vinyl siding. I don't.
Guys, just to help for those people watching here to define what we're talking about here. Are we saying therefore, what makes this house not a vinyl house? Because in other words, it's not a tour house, it's not
It's
prior to
100
1900.
Yeah, it's a 143-year-old Victorian.
well,
140.
So we're
For
saying
one
there's no
thing-
vinyl allowed on 143.
for one
I mean, we
thing-
have, this is getting too,
No.
it's getting pretty darn gray, is my concern here. In other words,
It was built in
for one
1920.
thing,
That's what I'm
I've only
looking
been here 30 years,
1900,
but
yeah.
I have seen
I had it
so
confused with
many
yours.
good-looking houses covered. And they're just a plain box when they're done with them. Beautiful shingles, millwork, and gorgeous houses. All they needed was paint, a little tender love and care. And instead, they covered them up with vinyl with no details whatsoever. And,
That
and
is-
you're not intending to do that, I realize.
That is not the case with this
But,
house whatsoever.
You know as well as I do that you get down into the rental district on the north end,
Right.
and there's a lot of beautiful old homes there that have been totally disguised.
And I can't help that.
I know that.
the siding that's on the house now, when was that put on? It's not original, when was it?
60s.
The 1960s. So we're saying the 1960s siding is superior to the vinyl?
There's no clapboard underneath it.
Right, so I mean, I'm just not sure why, I mean, I'm not seeing this myself.
The 1960 material is more sturdy, it doesn't show the waves of the heat, it doesn't show
It's not
expansion.
that good because it's leaking, so in other words,
Well,
This is GE Monogram 46. This is the finest
right,
polymer available on the market today.
it,
It has the highest technology behind it, has a lifetime warranty.
it's only as good as the installer, though.
see, in other words, if this was the original, again, I'm just saying, just as the common guy here, if this was the original material, right, the original 1900 wood, I can understand saying, wait a minute, don't hurt that 1900 wood, let's save that, let's caulk it, let's paint it, let's,
I wouldn't be here tonight if we had that
but
option.
this is a
No.
1960s junk that they put on it. In fact, rip that off, it's gone in the landfill somewhere. They put that junk on, and then we're saying, oh gosh, we don't want to hide that junk with this stuff, which is probably a more expensive, better product than the junk.
All right, I'm
That's,
gonna do this. I'd like to make a motion to
There's already a
approve.
motion on the table, isn't
She's
there?
gonna,
Did he make the motion?
no, I withdraw
No.
my motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve it because the original has been taken away. And the depth of the windows, I don't feel like from the front of the house, from the streetscape, that it's gonna lose that detail. So I make a motion to approve the vinyl siding, polymer siding on the house at 345 Washington Street. So we can get a decision going here.
I'll second that.
all right, we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Let's get that.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Well, let's get a count here. So who were the ayes?
Should we do a voice count?
We're just doing a hand count?
Hold your hands up high.
We hand up high if you were a yes.
That's 4.
4. We have opposed. And Frankie Mickey.
And I do feel like every bit of detail should be, the intricacy of the wheel and all that should still be.
That's why it was taken down and
We had
taken
no
to a
control of
local
that
wood carver
Well,
to,
he said he was going to do that ahead of time.
Like I said, we have no control of
Okay, so 4-3, motion carries.
that. Okay, thank you.
thank you for your time.
Actually, I think the minutes should show that there was the conversation about the corner boards and the shutters covering the J channel. I think that needs to be part of the application.
And the wheel, because that was, I remember that.
Okay, let's write those in then. She's got it in there, okay?
Have a good evening, everybody.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last item was withdrawn, correct? Yes. All right. Go into old business, discussion on design solutions for number 12-1119C. Request to retain a metal 8x12 utility building in the rear yard at 627 Market Street, circa 1910, which has been tabled from November 19th, 2012 meeting. Is the homeowner here, or?
No, she's
Oh,
not.
okay.
She came in the office and asked if the commissioner had any discussion or any ideas for her.
Okay.
She's not prepared to come, she doesn't have any ideas, so she's not prepared to come back. So I told her that I would ask the commission if there had been any further thoughts or recommendations. She seemed a little more agreeable to placing something in front of it, some kind of fencing
Screen fence.
or
That's-
vegetation. or-
Yeah.
I would think that would be all that's needed.
But he's gotta get his wheelchair to it, right? Wasn't it?
Leave it
You
gap.
can make it a gate.
Gate,
Yeah,
yeah,
or a
yeah.
gate, yes.
That should be a,
Just a gate with no fence around it, just a gate.
So we did it in the form of a.
Well, I did look, and there are some really beat-up sheds in that area.
There's a lot of sheds.
yeah.
But I have only found one new one, and it's kind of across the street, and I don't know what direction that is, but going up towards the Lime Kilmore, that has a new shed that, if this lady wasn't allowed to have it, they shouldn't be allowed to have it. The rest of them have been there forever.
I don't think we're all taking part in this discussion. I don't care for this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If I remember right, it wasn't the fact of the shed, it was a prominent location
Well, it's how
that
visible
they
it is.
insisted upon
Yeah.
for the shed. And we had tried at that time to come up with some ideas which would somewhat,
Masked it.
yeah,
Well, and that's why I'm bringing up
mask it
this
so
other
that
house. It is
wasn't
directly at the end of the
prominent
driveway
feature. It
also.
was sitting in the middle of the driveway, I
Yeah.
believe.
The one house that I don't know whose house it is, but I just know there's a new metal shed at the end of a driveway also.
Where's this? On Market?
If you're heading towards the line field, it's on the left side, so I understand her
Yeah.
opposition.
Yeah.
But if something's going to be done, for her masking it, something needs to be done to the other to keep everything the same. Because the other house is an older home as well.
May I ask, is that not how this process started? I mean, we didn't just single out. I mean, she didn't come to us saying, is that cool, right?
Right.
So is there going to be a process to address the others?
Well, I guess that's discussion we'll have to have in the office. We'd have to discover when that was placed, how long ago it's been placed. If that's within, which district that's within, if it's historic property, if it's rental property, and if the tenant did it, if the landlord did it, who to contact, and that kind of thing.
Okay, well, I'm sorry.
We're not going to go back, 5 years and say, well, you've never got a permit for this, or you have to meet.
Yeah.
We start this
So-
finger pointing thing, could be wildfire. But if we allow it to go, we're not doing our job again.
I guess it's much more clean cut when you catch somebody doing it or right after they've done it.
And say
That brings
from
up
here
my
on
question.
out.
Right.
Was this a
we need to-
recent installation of that building, that shed,
For which one?
the one in question here?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So that's,
Yeah, that was.
I understand your.
yeah.
Right.
So that's not an action item, correct? Just a discussion?
No, that's just a discussion.
Okay. Is there any citizen input? Come on up and give us your input. How are you doing?
Good, how are you all doing?
Fine.
Sorry about the,
No, it's all good. We could have told you.
It was actually pretty entertaining, exciting.
entertaining of your.
I used to live on Washington right by Norbella.
Oh, okay. So
I know where,
You know it's a
know
pretty
the
home.
situation. Oh, yeah. But
We're
we're
gonna
here
talk about-
about 409 LeCompte. And I don't know if everybody's familiar with where that is, just after Washington Street on the left. You go up to the middle school, that corner blue house, white picket fence all the way around.
I emailed everybody a question about changing the roof on the
Yes.
porch.
Yeah,
Okay.
all it is the front porch is a 312 pitch. That's about a story and a half up in the air, so you all know that when you're at the street, you can't really see what's on top of it. What we're planning to do is I'll remove the slate that's up there, the triangle slate. They do have a couple pieces on the main house that's a 912 pitch that I'll use that slate that we take off to replace the broken slate on the house. So then when you're at the curb appeal, you'll still have the triangular slate. In the place of the slate that we take off of the porch, I come up with a colonial slate architectural shingle. You're not really going to see this from the curb. You'll either have to get in an airplane, helicopter, fly above, something like that to actually see this kind of material.
I'm up there all the time.
Oh, okay. Directing traffic, right? We get the traffic at the board.
Yeah, I'm helicopter.
But that's what we'd like to do on the front porch. It is leaking right now. There is a lot of damaged slate that's up there, but I can get enough and probably more and save it for the original house and keep the original house in the slate, the triangular slate it is.
So
It's
the
been
que-
leaking for 10 plus years.
So it's just the porch.
Yeah, it's just the
Just
front
the front
porch. I'm gonna
porch.
have to replace 2 trusses in there because it was damaged. It's actually leaking on the right-hand side of it. If you go by and, well, actually, you'll have to get up the tree or something and look at it. You can actually see it where it's leaking in.
So the question before us is,
problem-
does this need an application?
The basic problem
That
is
is
that
the
it's not slate, it's asbestos.
It's asbestos slate. It's what it is.
Well, it's asbestos
Yeah.
shingles of a
Yeah,
sort.
we
And if it goes bad, it's extremely difficult to replace. And I
Yes.
think-
I've done a
I
couple
think
over
you're-
here. I've done a couple over here where I've actually taken copper and hemmed it and made it a triangle and slid it in and replaced some over here or right there by the triangle end. I replaced a couple through there and use that because the patina, after a patina, actually looks similar.
I have the tool to remove those.
Yeah, it's a slate bar. Yeah, yeah.
This thing, and he was so proud of it.
Oh, I've done slate up in St. Albans. I did
Okay.
a $3.7 million slate job. That was what the
That was
roof
slate.
cost. That was the actual slate.
The worst thing that can happen is that it looks bad if the two are not similar.
Right.
And what you have chosen, and it's just my opinion, what you've chosen would make a very good replacement for that damaged slate.
Right. She has.
The one thing I would ask though is keep in mind when your main roof goes bad, put something on that's very similar to that so you don't have the two different kinds of roofing.
Right, and this comes from County Do It, Alan and Joe. This is where I'll be getting it from and stuff. It's gonna be local. I don't like to go outsource. I like to keep the money local.
And you've
Is
done
what
it
I
all
do.
over town, everybody
Yes.
knows exactly what you're.
Yeah, I just did this, the Southern Inn in 2004. We tore up the cedar shake and we put the architectural burnt Sierra on there.
And I think the biggest point is by doing it, we are repairing the actual house roof for a much longer period of time because we're repairing the broken
Excellent.
pieces on the house. So I think it's beneficial.
Well, that's
I'm
not
well
what I
aware of the
understood
problem
from the
with trying to
email. I
repair
thought it was
Yeah.
the whole.
No. When you repair one of those,
That
all you
kinda
do is
freaked
you're
me out.
taking
I
your
thought it was
slate
whole
bar, you're cutting your nails underneath, and then you just take a piece of copper strap, nailed into the roof, you put some roofing cement down, you slide your new piece in, and then your copper band goes over top of it. That holds it until that roofing tar cures and keeps it up there. And that's how you fix one of those, and they're really easy. You might damage some on the way down and stuff like that, but
Slide
I'm
off.
saying enough from the porch, I should be able to get everything done on the main roof, which will be your 912. That's where you get your curb appeal at.
Would we consider that maintenance? Brenda, could that go under
That's
maintenance?
the question.
I would say this is not
I would-
rise to the level of needing a certificate of
Right.
appropriateness.
He's talking about repairing.
Right.
Repairing mostly, yeah, I would.
And then in the back, you guys don't mind, because there's 3 tab shingles on it. It's a 212 pitch. Why they did that, I have no idea, but I'd like to remove those 312, or that 212 pitch, the 3 tabs, and put in a roll roofing, which is a peel and stick to match this actual color right here too. That would be on the back of the house, which you cannot see from any part of the roads.
And Brenda was with me, so she can attest. I mean, you can't see that porch from any point, that roof. I mean, it's almost flat. And so with it shingled, it's leaking all, against the house because of it. So it'd just be, like a flat roof, roofing.
I think since he
you need to
came
do
in,
that.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
since he
yeah,
came in
anything
and
underneath the
explained-
312, you need to use a flat roof material. Unless you're using 3-in-1s, then you can use the ice and water, and then you can run out of 4-inch exposure.
Ice and water.
Yeah, ice and water.
It'd be easier than that.
Tea in
Nah.
there?
Brenda says we need a motion to acknowledge this as a maintenance issue.
I make
Do
a
that.
motion that we
Ed has
acknowledge.
made the motion. We have a second.
Yes.
Yes.
Who seconded it? Jan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh, I'm not opposed, but may I ask the address again?
What was the-
409 LeCompte.
It's the big.
So you're free to do it because it's
Thank
a
you,
maintenance.
guys.
Thank you
for
so
coming
much.
in.
All right, you guys have a good one.
If
Thanks a
you need
lot.
any of that slate, I've got a garage full.
Tons of it, all right.
Okay, is there any other business?
I'd just like to commend the city staff on the research and work they've done.
Oh,
Yes.
my
Yeah, I agree.
goodness,
You do a great
this
job.
is excellent.
Very professional.
Yeah, it's,
All right, is there any motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, is there a second?
I'm second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.
That was